So we are getting ready to send our oldest son off to college in the fall, as many of you are. And as one of the designated worriers in our house, I share this role 50-50 with my husband. I have been stressing about all the big things that sending your firstborn to college entails. Will he be safe? Will he be happy and emotionally healthy? Will he actually go to class and learn something? I also worry about the more trivial things. Will he ever do laundry? Will he eat anything except fast food? Maybe a salad or a piece of fruit once in a while? I mean, based on his current life at home, I'm pretty sure the answer to doing laundry is an absolute no. So fine, as long as the big things are okay. One thing I do have some idea about is how he'll behave when he gets drunk. I actually know this about my other two sons as well, because I've seen them all drunk on sugar. Each of them fits the drunken stereotype I would have predicted perfectly. So let me back up and explain how it came to pass that my kids had enough sugar to get full-on drunk. My sister got married 9 years ago. It wasn't a first marriage for either of them, so they happily dispensed with all the potential bridezilla stuff. Really, they just wanted to throw a kick-ass party for their friends and family. My sister asked me to help plan the wedding. I love planning parties, which is ironic since I don't actually like parties because I'm an introvert, but I love planning them. Anyway, they didn't want to have any sort of formality at all. So, for example, their mutual friend who had introduced them got himself ordained on the internet to marry them. Another friend agreed to DJ, and I locked down the perfect venue, right here in this very bar. The wedding was in mid-October, and I'm not sure how many of you have been here in Martyrs during October, but they don't screw around with Halloween decorations. So, after fruitlessly trying to convince my sister that what she wanted to do was have a Day of the Dead themed wedding, she said no, fine, we're just gonna cover up all the Halloween decorations with a ton of white fabric. It worked really well. She didn't have any bridesmaids, but she did have a color scheme. And mostly it involved little flower centerpieces on the tables and like a shitload of balloons on the ceiling, and also the candy table. So she did not fuck around with stocking that candy table. She bought like every possible kind of candy that you could buy in her colors. And she put them in glass bowls and vases along this like ridiculously long table. So you can guess what happened when my kids walked into the wedding and saw that candy table. Also, there weren't very many kids at the wedding, so they didn't really have to jockey around to get full access to the candy table. Also, the food was beautiful, but it was decidedly not kid-friendly. And also, there was that candy table. So at some point, my older two boys, who were 9 and 7 at the time, started playing pinball in the back. And about 30 seconds into it, my oldest, Leo, the one who's going to college, is pummeling his little brother Jacob because of the pinball game. But really, it's because he's a mean drunk. Like, he's a really mean drunk. Jacob doesn't fight back. He dissolves into this like weepy tears, hyperventilating, like he's the whole thing. And my husband and I have to act really fast. Do we take Jacob home? We do live just around the corner, so that's a possibility. Do we get him something to eat? But there's nothing that he wants to eat at the wedding. A hot dog, he whimpers. Hot dog. Great! Mangy's is just up the block. My husband grabs Jacob and bolts. He has to get him to Mangy's before they close. Jacob, as it turns out, is a weepy drunk. When his blood sugar gets out of whack, there is no consoling him. It's just feed the beast and wait for the crash. Meanwhile, as we're dealing with the fight and the feeding and all of this, Elias, our little one, is zooming around the wedding party like a pinball in that machine. He's on the dance floor. He's posing for photos. He's charming all the adults. Basically, he's the life of the party, drunk on sugar, and any minute now, he's gonna have a lampshade on his head. Eventually, of course, they all crash. But what's really amazing is how they behaved the next day. Just like each kid was a different drunk, they all nursed their different kinds of hangovers. Leo, the mean drunk, basically didn't leave his room for the entire day. He's just sleeping it off. Frankly, this bodes well for college, because he's a lot less likely to engage in 2 days in a row of stupid if he's passed out for the full next day and can't do anything more than mumble, "Leave me alone." Jacob, the weepy drunk, he had a ravenous hangover. He ate all day the next day. I mean, he loves to eat anyway, but this was like extreme eating. Now he's a sophomore in high school, but when he goes off to college, we'll make sure that he has that weekend meal plan, just in case. Elias, the wild and crazy guy, was fine the next day. Popped up at his normal time and asked if we had brought home the leftover candy. Turns out he's a hair the dog kind of guy. So he's only 11, we don't have to worry about sending him to college yet. So, once I meet Leo's roommates in the fall at college, do I warn them that he could be a really mean drunk and they'll be best off leaving him alone the next day? Just one more thing for me to worry about. Thank you.